Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Cultured Pull List. This week, we'll be talking about Deadpool kills the Marvel Universe, as well as all of the major comic publishing announcements that came out of San Diego Comic Con last weekend. So, without further ado, let's get into it. Hello, all of my fellow comic collectors, comic enthusiasts, comic nerds, whatever we want to call ourselves. We are all fans of comics. At least I think so. Else, why else would we be watching this? So, yeah, thanks for joining me on another episode of the Cultured Pull List, part of the Cultured Universe Podcast Network. Now, this week, we're going to be talking about another Deadpool story. If you missed it, last week I talked about the first ever Deadpool mini series, The Circle Chase, and this week we're talking about Deadpool kills the Marvel Universe, another really popular story arc in the Deadpool fandom. Though I will say, I had heard a lot of rumors that Deadpool versus Wolverine was going to take some inspiration off of this story, but kind of more mixed with like Deadpool killing the Fox universe, I guess. And if you've seen the movie, you know that's not really the case. But I had already chosen to cover the story anyway, so screw it. It was pretty fun, so I'm glad I stuck to it. But yeah, before we get into the story this week, I do want to spend some time talking about all of the comic announcements that came out of mostly Marvel and DC this past weekend at San Diego Comic Con. There's a lot of stuff that got announced, so obviously, if you're into comics and keep up on them regularly, you'll probably be interested in this. If you're just interested in hearing about the story, the summary, my review of it, you can go ahead and like just skip around. I'll leave as usual, I'll leave time codes, chapters on YouTube, and time codes in the description on like Spotify and stuff. So, yeah, you'll be able to skip around however you want. But, yeah, let's get into the San Diego Comic Con announcement. So, first off, there is a new Laura Kinney Wolverine series that is going to premiere on December 11th. This is gonna be written by Erica Schultz with art by Giada Belviso. Yeah, but I mean, I kind of feel like they might be kind of writing off of, Deadpool and Wolverine because, spoiler, Laura Kinney X23 is in it, so I'm kind of wondering if that's why they're not launching this. But also, they are just kind of relaunching all of their X-Men books, and Laura Kinney is in the new Nyx series, so they're probably just springboarding off of that as well. But yeah, also a new story arc coming to the Amazing Spider-Man series, this current run. It's called The Eight Deaths of Spider Man. This is about Doctor Doom choosing Spider Man for the special task he has. So, kind of spoilers for Blood Hunt, that whole thing, but Doctor Doom at the end becomes the Sorcerer Supreme instead of Doctor Strange. But apparently, every year, Doctor Strange had to fight off this evil god and his minions, and Doctor Doom, I guess, doesn't want to mess with that, so he chooses Spider Man to deal with this threat, and he gives Spider Man this new magic powered Doctor Doom inspired suit. That is going to start in Amazing Spider Man 61 on sale November 13th. And this arc is actually going to be written by Joe Kelly. This Amazing Spider Man run has been written by Zeb Wells up until now. But yeah, so Joe Kelly's taken over, but Ed McGuinness is still doing the art. He's doing the art on the current issues coming out, and I guess he's still going to be doing it for this arc. But yeah, this seems pretty interesting. I've been keeping up with the Amazing Spider-Man run this whole time, the last couple years. So yeah, I'm definitely looking forward to this. I'm a big Spider-Man fan, so this could be cool. Yeah, I'm gonna check it out. But yeah, November 13th is when that starts. I'm not sure how long the arc is going to be. I'm guessing 8 issues because the 8 Deaths of Spider-Man, but maybe that's completely unrelated. Yeah, so moving on, there's a new Psylocke series. Now, if you've been paying attention to this podcast or just Marvel comics in general, the Krakoan era ended and Marvel relaunched pretty much every X-Men series and added a bunch of new ones. But they are adding a new Psylocke series. There's not a whole lot of info about it, except it seems like she's going to be going after mutant hunters, people who hate mutants. But this is going to be written by Alyssa Wong, and art's going to be by Vincenzo Caratu, and this is going to go on sale. The first issue is going to go on sale November 13th. Now, if you are a big fan of the Ultimate Universe, like I am, you're probably going to be interested in this book. So there's this new one shot coming out called Ultimate Universe 1 Year In, and it's basically going to explore the state of the new Ultimate Universe, like after its first year. They've, been running Ultimate Spider-Man, Ultimate X-Men, Ultimate Black Panther, and the Ultimates. And then this spawned from Ultimate Invasion and then the Ultimate Universe one shot. And a lot of this was originally like helmed by Jonathan Hickman. But Denise Camp is going to be writing this, and he is writing the current Ultimates run, which has been pretty good. It's only been 2 issues so far, but it's been pretty interesting. So this is going to be written by Denise Camp, and it's going to be released on December 11th. Now, next up is a new Deadpool. Kind of, I guess I haven't been keeping up with this series, but kind of some spoilers if you don't know already. But apparently, in the pages of a Deadpool number 6, which have been written by Cody Ziegler, Wade Wilson seemingly meets his demise. So the next issue, issue 7, will introduce his daughter Ellie as the new Deadpool, and she's going to be under the tutelage of Taskmaster. So that does sound interesting. I haven't really been keeping up with the series. I got the first issue, but didn't read after that. Comics are expensive. I can't read everything, unfortunately. But yeah, so October 2nd is when when issue 7 comes out. But yeah, sounds kind of interesting. I don't really know a whole lot about Deadpool's daughter Ellie, but it could be interesting to explore a new Deadpool, and her being trained by Taskmaster is an interesting twist, I think. Now, there is a new West Coast Avengers series that is also going to be coming out soon, starting on November 27th. And what's really interesting about this is the lineup includes a seemingly reformed Ultron. So that's curious. I haven't really been keeping up on Ultron's history the last few years, but I was kind of under the impression he wasn't really around. So I'm very curious to see how that turns out. But I gotta say, I really like the art. It feels very Alex Ross inspired. The artist is Danny Kim, and I also really like this Iron Man suit. It's kind of based off of the if it's not the Silver Centurion armor, it's based off of it, and that's one of my favorite Iron Man armors like ever. So this looks pretty cool. I'll definitely check this out. I'm not like a huge West Coast Avengers fan in general, but this definitely piques my interest, I gotta say. Now, the next thing we're going to talk about very briefly is the introduction of a new Spider Girl in the pages of Spider Boy. So, this is going to happen in Spider Boy issue 12, which is also going to be a team up with Daredevil. Now, I haven't really been reading Spider Boy. I love Dan Slott, but the series didn't really grab me. I read like the first issue, it's fine. I think Spider Boy as a character is okay. I don't like love him, but he's kind of growing on me. But I might pick this up mainly because I love Daredevil, and it'd be cool to see maybe a team up between them. But yeah, this there's no real information on who or even like how old this Spider Girl is and how she got her powers or anything. So I'm sure they're gonna reveal that in the if not in this issue down the line. So that sounds interesting. Now, probably one of the biggest and most I don't know curious announcements they made was this new TVA 5 issue limited comic book series. And what's kind of strange about it is they're basically combining the MCU version of the TVA with the comic version of the TVA. I don't know if this is like a permanent change or what, but this doesn't seem to be a straight up like MCU comic book. It seems like it is, supposed to be from it's supposed to be set in the sixth one. Well, obviously the TVA are outside of time, but it's supposed to take place in the whole comics world. But they're taking a lot of stuff from the TVA from like the Loki series and putting it in the comics. So that's interesting. Like yeah, if you're listening to the audio version, like there's Miss Minutes is gonna be in it. Looks like the Kei Kwan character from Loki. I think his name is Ouroboros. It seems like he's gonna be in it, and B15 looks like she's gonna be in it as well. But it looks like she's still a hunter. I don't know. It seems very confusing because they're like combining the MCU version with, the comic version. It looks like Sylvie's in it too. But basically, the main point of it is that the uh whoever's in charge, the mysterious person in charge of the TVA, is going to be recruiting Ghost Spider, aka Spider Gwen, Captain Carter, and a variant of Gambit to go on these like multiversal missions to repair temporal anomalies and keep reality itself from shattering. So, like I said earlier, this is a 5 issue series, and it is premiering on December 18th. So that's all of the Marvel Comics publishing news from Comic Con. Now, DC didn't have as big of a offering, honestly, but there are few things that they did mention were a new Justice League series called Justice League Unlimited, which does seem to be taking some inspiration from the Justice League animated series from the early 2000s because the new Watchtower is going to be the new home for all heroes in the DC universe, at least, you know, in the main universe. So that's pretty cool. I really do like I love that old Justice League Unlimited series. I grew up with that. So if they take inspiration from that, I'm definitely on board. But this is notable also because this is a newly reformed Justice League. Because after Dark Crisis on Infinite Earths, the Justice League disbanded and the Titans took over. But I'm honestly very glad that they're bringing the Justice League back because it's you can't have DC without the Justice League. Let's be honest. And I mean the Titans are great, but they just aren't a replacement for the Justice League. I feel like it didn't really work to have them be, the new Justice League. It might have worked if they expanded their roster, but they just kind of had like, one of the most famous rosters, and then just kind of kept it at that. If they had brought John Kent in and had him be, like their Superman, that kind of stuff, but it didn't work. So I am glad that they're making this new Justice League series. Seems pretty cool. It looks like the lineup is going to include Superman, Batman, Wonder Woman, Flash, uh, Black Lightning, Star Sapphire, which is interesting. I believe Green Lantern as well, and Captain Atom. And this is going to be written by Mark Waid with art by Dan Mora. They've been doing the whole absolute. Well, they've been doing World's Finest, but they've also been doing the new Absolute Power blockbuster summer series. So that's a damn good team up. There's also going to be a new Justice Society series coming out from writer Jeff Lemire and penciled by Diego Orlatuguay. And there's like no real information on what that's going to be about exactly. And neither of these series have an actual release date yet, which is interesting. Another thing, yeah, there's going to be a new Absolute Flash series. So there's part of like if you've seen my last episode, you know about the new initiative that DC's doing in October called All In, and it's going to be continuing all of their main, stories, their main characters, but they're also adding a new universe called the Absolute Universe, which so far they've only revealed Batman, Superman, and Wonder Woman. They're going to be like drastically different versions of those characters, but apparently they're also going to be releasing or introducing an Absolute Flash series, which is cool. This is going to be written by Jeff Lemire with art by Nick Robles. And this series is actually going to star a 15-year-old Wally West, so it seems like he's going to be the Flash, but not Kid Flash. That could be an interesting take on this. Not having Barry as a mentor, or maybe he will. I don't know. But yeah, that sounds pretty interesting. Lastly, David Dastmalchian, the actor, showed up and revealed that he is set to write a new horror take on Creature Commandos called DC Horror Presents Creature Commandos. Now, this definitely feels like they're trying to do that to tie in, or at least, coincide with the new Creature Commandos animated series coming out. But this could be cool. It's a 6 issue limited series and it's going to premiere in October. Now, some also David Dastmalchian was part of the Image panel or one of the Image announcement things, and apparently he's going to he is currently writing Knights versus Samurai. I don't know anything about that, but apparently he's writing that for um, Image. And I find it interesting when actors, get into writing, especially writing comics. So this could be interesting. Yeah, last like teeny, like I really couldn't find much information about this, but according to Forbes, um, Todd McFarlane announced a few new Spawn titles that are supposed to tie in with the King Spawn movie that is reportedly on track to be produced and put out. So that could be interesting. I mean, there's already so many Spawn titles. I don't know if they're actually going to be like direct tie-ins to the movie or what, but yeah, that's all of the comic news from Comic-Con. Lots of stuff. I mean, really, the only things I'm really looking forward to, I mean, of course, Spider-Man, because I love Spider-Man. This does sound interesting. And then the Ultimate Universe 1 year in. The Ultimate Universe so far has been great, so I'm definitely looking forward to that. And I'm very much looking forward to the new Justice League Unlimited. Hoping that's good. The TVA series has kind of piqued my interest, but I'm not like super excited. I might check out the first issue, see how it is. And same thing with West Coast Avengers. It's definitely piqued my interest with Ultron and the new like Iron Man Silver Centurion suit, as well as like the artwork. But yeah, I'm not sure. I hope it's good, but I'm not sure it's gonna be something I'm gonna pick up every week or not. But yeah, let's get into the whole reason we're here in this episode. Deadpool kills the Marvel Universe. Now, this doesn't take place in the main, like you might have guessed, but this doesn't take place in the main, Marvel comic universe. It's definitely just a kind of a one shot, like it's kind of a throwaway, like it doesn't really exist in any sort of like capacity in the comics. None of this really happened in the main universe. But this was just kind of like a fun throwaway thing because I guess fans kind of wanted Deadpool to kill everybody. So it's just kind of a fun, like gory, blood-soaked bloodbath of a story. But it's pretty fun. It's kind of what you want in a crazy Deadpool one-shot story. So yeah, this was a four issue series, and they all released the same month, like 1 week after another, which I found interesting. But yeah, Deadpool Kills the Marvel Universe was written by Cullen Bunn. That's a fun name. With art by Dalibor Talajic, with colors by Lee Lowridge, and letters by VC's Joe Sabino. And like I said, these were all released in August of 2012. So just a little bit of a warning. This is a very violent and graphic story, so definitely not for kids, especially if you're watching this on YouTube. I'm going to show some of the more, I mean, a lot of the kills in this are pretty graphic, so just so you're aware. The story starts with Uatu the Watcher kind of introducing the reader to, who they are, the Watcher, and everything that's going on, but then we cut to the Fantastic Four in the Baxter building. Deadpool is seemingly killed. Reed Richards and the Thing off screen or off whatever panel, off page. And we then see him crash some sort of ship or something into the Baxter building, which kills Johnny. And the Invisible Woman, the only remaining member of the Fantastic Four, then faces off against Deadpool and uses her force field powers to explode Deadpool's head. But then she foolishly turns her back on him, and Deadpool quickly regrows his head and stabs Invisible Woman in the back, while Uatu the Watcher is just kind of presiding over all this, kind of giving a voiceover as to what's happening to the reader. We then jump backwards a few weeks to the X-Men bringing Deadpool, a restrained Deadpool, to Ravencroft. Deadpool then begins his treatment with a doctor at Ravencroft who reveals himself to be Psycho Man in disguise, and he tries to use some sort of device on Deadpool to turn him into like his mindless slave and get rid of the voices in Deadpool's head, so the only voice he hears is Psycho Man's. And this process is very painful, but for some reason it doesn't do exactly what Psycho Man wants. It does get rid of Deadpool's two voices, but a new voice takes the stage and begins telling Deadpool to basically just start killing everyone. So he starts with Psycho Man taking the tiny villain out of the seemingly robotic head of the Doctor, and killing him, smashing him, which, doesn't seem that hard. He's teeny. And he then blows up Ravencroft. And the voice then tells him to just start basically killing everybody in the Marvel Universe. Not actually, that's not true. Not everybody, but like all the main heroes and villains is who he's after. Next, we skip to the Watcher, who is looking over the dead body of Invisible Woman in the present. And Deadpool's actually able to see the Watcher, and using this device that he stole from Reed Richards, he's able to like get on the same dimensional plane as the Watcher and kill him as well. So next we see just kind of the aftermath of Deadpool's killing spree. Like, he's killed Ghost Rider and Doctor Doom and a bunch of other people. The news is covering it. And then we see him having a fight with Spider-Man in the skies of New York City. And Spider-Man's able to fight Deadpool off, and Deadpool falls to the ground, and he gets pretty mangled on a police car that he falls on. But Spider-Man kind of starts giving Deadpool this long speech about like why he, how did Deadpool think he was going to kill Spider-Man when all these other villains that are way more dangerous than him have tried to kill Spider-Man and haven't been able to. But while he's talking, he gets really close to Deadpool while Deadpool is healing, and he like grabs him by the shirt and starts talking to him, and Deadpool just shoots him in the head while he's monologuing, and then just walks away. And he has like a conversation with the voice in his head. Deadpool wants to go after like the most powerful and flashy people he can take down and make like a big spectacle, but the voice in his head wants him to just keep it simple and just, focus on just killing everyone the most efficient way possible. So then we cut to the remaining Avengers who are still alive, and they're planning on how to take out Deadpool and trying to figure out what to do. But while they're talking, Jarvis comes in the room saying that Dr. Hank Pym has gone missing, and just then a bunch of explosives, like an insane amount of explosives that were shrunk down with Pym particles that Deadpool stole, appear on the table, grown to normal size, and they go off, blowing up Avengers Tower and killing pretty much everybody except for Luke Cage and Thor. But Luke Cage actually had some shrunk down bombs inside him from drinking the coffee that apparently Deadpool had slipped some shrunk down bombs into the Avengers coffee, so he just blows up Luke Cage from the inside. And Thor does try to take down Deadpool, but Deadpool uses the Pym particles to make Mjolnir huge, and when like right as Thor is calling back Mjolnir, it grows huge and crushes him. So that's how he takes care of Thor. Next we kind of just do a jump cut to Hulk fighting Deadpool, and he's easily able to just like rip Deadpool apart, and thinking that he won the battle, he just goes off to some cave and falls asleep and reverts to Bruce Banner. And that's when a healed Deadpool strikes and kills Bruce. Then we find ourselves at Aunt May's house, and she's had a meeting with a bunch of normal people that were affected by all the heroes dying, because in some way or another they were good friends or related to the people that Deadpool killed, the heroes. And they pool all of their valuable resources to hire an assassin to take down Deadpool, and that assassin is Taskmaster, and he accepts their offer and starts hunting Deadpool. He finds it pretty easy because Deadpool's leaving this trail of carnage in his wake, killing like everybody, Green Goblin and Power Pack and everybody, and Taskmaster just kind of able to follow the body breadcrumb trail. Next we see Deadpool with Professor X, who he has tied to a chair, and he's brought all the X-Men to this warehouse that he's rigged up to be like this killer maze type death trap. And he has all the X-Men on screens for Professor X to watch, and he watches as the X-Men get killed. Like this weird plasma device, or this weird plasma thing attaches itself to Cyclops' head and like explodes when he tries to escape, and the other X-Men get crushed and electrocuted. And Professor X tries to figure out why Deadpool's doing all this, and Deadpool explains that when Psycho Man messed with his head, he becomes like more self-aware than he's ever been of, not just like the fourth wall, but the universe itself and how it's being controlled by, you know, like the comic writers and artists and editors and everything, and how everything they do is useless and pointless because they just keep being trapped in this endless cycle of disaster and being brought back and like all this stuff, you know, just for the entertainment of the readers. So he's like fully aware of everything, and his motivation is to kill everybody to save them from being in this endless cycle of kind of being used for entertainment, like, you know, dancing monkeys or whatever. And Professor X tries to get inside Deadpool's mind and shut him down, but he ends up being overwhelmed and dying. Like his brain just shuts down from seeing that everything that Deadpool knows. And we also see this, some of the ways he's gotten rid of some of the other mutants. Like he got rid of Kitty Pryde by just keeping her in this tesseract that she's unable to escape from, and he trapped Magneto in this like acidic jelly. Next we see Wolverine, who has healed from the explosion at Avengers Tower and has tracked Deadpool to the warehouse, and he finds Arcade locked in the warehouse. Apparently Deadpool had forced Arcade to make this death trap in the warehouse. X-23 and Dakin, his kids, his daughter and son, well, I guess one's his clone, and they've been chained up by Deadpool, and basically whenever they start to heal, a series of flamethrowers open fire and just burn all their like flesh away. So yeah, that's pretty messed up. But then Deadpool appears wearing the skin of Beast and fights Wolverine, but he's able to overpower Wolverine with his carbonadium katanas. He's able to cut off Wolverine's head, which, if you don't know, carbonadium kind of negates or at least messes with Wolverine's healing factor. And he makes some joke about how like Wolverine keeps coming back, but not because of his healing factor, but because of his popularity. Next we see Taskmaster going to the Sanctum Sanctorum because Deadpool had been there, and he sees that Deadpool has already killed Wong and Doctor Strange, but he was also looking at some occult books, and apparently Deadpool's trying to get to the nexus of all realities. So that's Taskmaster's next stop. So in the aftermath of Deadpool just like slaughtering all the heroes and villains, pandemonium has set in, and like all the remaining heroes and villains are just kind of attacking and freaking out and killing each other. And some of them have even climbed up to top this building and are planning to jump off and unalive themselves. But we see the Punisher, who is actively gunning for Deadpool, and he seems to see him through a building window and shoots him. But when he gets to the actual building, it turns out that it was the Puppet Master. But it seems that Deadpool has been using... He had forced the Puppet Master to make puppets for basically everybody who was left on Deadpool's list, and had them fighting and killing each other. And as Frank Castle's figuring out what's going on, Deadpool shows up with a puppet of Punisher, and Deadpool uses the puppet to force Punisher to shoot himself. And yeah, that's the last of the Punisher. So we also see that Deadpool has used some special puppets from the Puppet Master to kill super powerful foes like Thanos and Nova and Galactus and the Silver Surfer. So as we get to the climax of the story, Deadpool is in this swamp, which I guess is the nexus of, or at least an entrance to the nexus of realities, and Taskmaster shows up and confronts him, and they fight for a while, and Taskmaster really seems to be the only one that's been able to put up an actual fight with Deadpool, because he's able to use his ability to mimic his fighting style and everything. But as they're fighting, Deadpool reveals to Taskmaster that the more he, studies and mimics Deadpool, the more he starts to think like him. And this even manifests as Taskmaster's able to hear the voice inside Deadpool's head. And this kind of freaks Taskmaster out and causes him to be afraid. And just then Man-Thing shows up and puts his hands on Taskmaster and burns him up, because like his power is he burns anybody who's afraid to a crisp, basically. So that's the end of Taskmaster, and Deadpool's able to convince Man-Thing to use his magical body to basically sacrifice himself to open a portal to the Nexus of Realities. And Deadpool jumps inside, and we see all these different realities and universes as Deadpool is just kind of floating through them. and he stops at one in particular, which just seems to be some old like back room with a bunch of comic books strewn all over the place. And as he walks forward, we see that he has landed at Marvel HQ in the real world, and we see all of the writers and artists and everything like plotting out the ending of the story. And as they're plotting, they're basically describing what goes on, what is happening, and what Deadpool's doing. And Deadpool is obviously about to go in to slaughter them all, and he says, once he's done with them and the rest of the universe, he turns to the reader and says, like, he'll find you soon enough. All right, so just talking about this book, I do have some criticisms. I feel like they've softened a bit since I've like sat with the book or sat with the story and kind of, thought about it. I do like the art overall. I think that's very striking, the art of this book. I think it's, realistic enough where it's enjoyable, but it also has some like over the top grotesque elements that I think fit with the whole like Deadpool of it all, and also just all the goriness. I think I was maybe expecting a little more going into this. Just I was hoping for, a good reason why Deadpool kills everybody, and like I guess I also wasn't sure if this like was a, one shot from, like an alternate universe like Elseworlds type story or not. So I guess I was expecting a little more in that way, but I probably shouldn't have. This whole story is basically just an excuse for Deadpool to kill everybody, which in and of itself it's really fun. So just taking it by that, like, yeah, it's fun. I'm gonna have like some nitpicks a little later, but yeah, like as it was really, just a fun Deadpool story. I did like they did actually give him some sort of motivation, like he wasn't just killing everybody for the fun of it, which, I wouldn't put that past Deadpool, but still, it could have just been like, oh, he just kills them for no reason. But they did try to give him a reason. I didn't like the reason at first. I kind of thought he was like gonna be like possessed or something, which, when I think about it, is kind of basic. But the reason itself, him being like somehow like part of his, meta breaking the fourth wall or whatever, like messing with his mind kind of awoke like a crazy version of that, like like that, I guess, fulfilled its potential where he knows like he understands like their existence is fake, and like the writers just keep resurrecting people, killing them. Like it's just an endless cycle of retrotting the same stories or writing things, just basically like, their whole world is in the palms of these comic writers and stuff. So he understands all that and is like, yeah, I'm gonna break everybody out of this cycle. Is it insane? Yeah, but Deadpool's insane. So honestly, the more I think about it, the more I think that it works. And I really liked the element of, he had like those two voices in his head. The whole like two voices in his head thing was introduced by writer Daniel Way, in his Deadpool story starting in 2008, and they went until 2012 when this was written. But yeah, so that was kind of like the two voices in his head kind of thing, was kind of a newer um, addition to Deadpool, but I think it's become kind of a big thing in other, like it was a big thing in the Deadpool video game. But yeah, so I found that kind of cool how the two voices went away and were replaced with this new voice that's, not only telling Wade to kill everybody, but, it's more like a benevolent thing. Like, this nothing matters. Everyone's just going to be in an endless cycle of being killed or fighting each other, yada. So let's just kill them all, destroy everything. It's like a very nihilistic view, but at the same time, like if you knew everything Deadpool did about the multiverse and the universe, like, especially being as psychotic and insane as Deadpool, it kind of makes sense. I actually like it the more I think about it. I did like all of the killing. Like, like if you're gonna read Deadpool kills the Marvel Universe, you want him to kill everybody, and he, they actually did a pretty good job incorporating a lot of different, like it wasn't just Deadpool killing everybody with, his katanas and guns. He actually was pretty clever and used elements from the Marvel universe to do it, which I thought was cool. Like he used Pym particles, he used the villain like Arcade to make this crazy like, deadly maze, death trap type thing. He used what's his name, Puppet Master, to control like a lot of the remaining uh Marvel characters and have them kill each other or kill themselves, which I do think that was a kind of an issue I had. Like I thought it was a little bit over the top that I mean, you kind of had to have if he's gonna kill the Marvel universe, you have to. But that was a bit over the top that he's able to like kill Nova and well, not just like Galactus and Thanos and stuff just with the puppets. Like I feel like if Puppet Master's that powerful, like why is he such a low tier villain? Like how come he's never done anything that crazy before? Maybe that's just not in his character. I'm not super familiar with Puppet Master, but I feel like that was a little bit of a like I don't know. I feel like it could go either way. I guess I would need to know more about the character, but I feel like it was a little bit of a like kind of last minute, like, well, he's got to kill Galactus. Well, we have a puppet guy. Let's just have him make a voodoo doll of, Galactus and kill him. I feel like it's a little lame that Galactus was taken out like that. But maybe Puppet Master is insanely powerful and it just like doesn't use his power to his potential. I'm not sure. And I think there were a few. I did like some of the battles he had. Like I liked his battle with Sue Storm, but I thought it was a little dumb that the yeah, I thought some of the kills were a little dumb. Like I thought it was kind of dumb that the way he killed Sue Storm, like she blew up his head with her powers, which was awesome. But like, why doesn't she know he heals or something? Like she just kind of turned her back on him, and he just like healed and stabbed her. I thought that was a little bit weak. Like out of like because like all the other characters, he found a way to kill them that was clever, but then with her, he just kind of like got lucky. And same thing with Spider-Man. It was basically like, they had a pretty cool fight. It could have gone on a little longer, but it was kind of cool. It was cool to see them fight because they've met and teamed up and fought so many times in the main universe comics. But it was basically like Spider-Man just like was talking to him and knew he had guns and for some reason thought that yeah, it just didn't make a whole lot of sense to me. That death was kind of dumb. Where, and maybe this is just coming from a Spider-Man fanboy, but I felt like it was a little dumb. Like he knew Deadpool had all his weapons, and Deadpool did fall from a high height and landed on a car and was like injured, but he knows Deadpool can heal really fast. Why did he take the time to like talk to him when he knew Deadpool had like he went up to him and like grabbed him by the shirt and was like talking to him about stuff and was like, you really think you could kill him and all my other villains couldn't? But he knew Deadpool had all his guns, and so Deadpool was able to just like shoot him in the head while he was talking. It was just kind of dumb. It was kind of dumb that after he knew Deadpool was trying to kill him that he would let down his guard that easily. I thought that was kind of dumb. The other deaths though I thought were pretty cool. I think the most brutal one was the frickin' X-23 and Dakin, where like he couldn't really kill them because of their healing factor, which doesn't make a whole lot of sense because he was able to kill Logan. But I think it was more he was trying to mess with Logan. But the fact that like as soon as they heal, there these like flamethrowers come out and like burn them away, like that's fucked. That's really messed up. So I thought that was probably the most brutal kill. I did like the way that he and Logan were talking. I thought it was funny when he said that like the reason you keep coming back isn't because of your healing, it's because of your popularity. And then he decapitated him with that his carbonadium katana that messes with Wolverine's healing. I thought that was pretty cool, and I did like that Wolverine survived that big blast in the Avengers Tower. I thought at first that he died because it just showed his skeleton, but he healed, so that's cool. I was gonna say like that. Why did that kill him? I also thought it was clever the way he killed Luke Cage because there were a lot of clever kills. That's I think why the dumb ones are so bad is because there are a lot of clever kills in this, and then there are some that are just like, oh well, he just happened to shoot him because the idiot, put down his guard for a second. It just kind of, I don't know. Maybe that was the point, but it felt a little bit lazy to me. But I did like how he killed Luke Cage because, like, Luke has an indestructible skin, so he was able to survive the blast at Avengers Mansion. But then it turns out that Deadpool had shrunk down several bombs and put them in the coffee. So he just put them in the Avengers Mansion coffee or whatever. So he was able to slip it into Luke Cage and blow him up from the inside. I thought that was cool, and the way he got rid of Thor too, because I was thinking like, how is he gonna get rid of Thor? But then he just used the Pym particles to make Mjolnir huge and crush Thor. I do think like ultimately there are a lot of gaps in this. I feel like there are a lot of really powerful characters that they just didn't really touch on. Like I think it made sense how he killed Hulk. That was actually cool. He just let himself, die, and then when Hulk went to sleep and turned into Bruce, he just killed him then. But that doesn't really make sense how he killed the Thing. They never showed that at the beginning. He was just sort of like, it looked like he got broken apart because there were like rubble and pieces of Thing everywhere. But he never really explained that. There are like a ton of other super powerful characters, like I don't know, Sentry, Hyperion, Captain Marvel, like just to name a few, and even like the huge, like Galactus is a really, really, really powerful cosmic character, but there's also the other ones like the Celestials and Eternity, stuff like that. The Living Tribunal. They never really explained how he killed them. Maybe they were supposed to be killed by the Puppet Master, but again, that feels just kind of lazy, like, oh well, there just happens to be like, if I don't know what, like, if he was gonna use those puppets, why didn't he just get his hands on the Puppet Master to begin with? Like, I know these are very nitpicky, like it's obviously supposed to be a dumb, like Deadpool kills everybody, but I think it's because there are some parts of the story that are so clever that the ones that feel a little bit like phoning it in are so much more egregious to me. But I did like the ending was I really liked that Taskmaster went after him, and Taskmaster was like the only guy that could stand against him because he can copy Deadpool's fighting style, but also I like the element where the longer he delves into understanding Deadpool, the more like crazy he's gonna get, and that freaked him out. And I thought it was interesting how Man Thing was able to open that portal in the Nexus of Realities and everything. I thought all that was interesting. They maybe could have explained that a little better, but I did like that overall. I didn't like the I would have wished for some more fights. They mostly showed a lot of the carnage after the fact, like after Deadpool killed them or as, they are being killed. I would have liked some more fights. Like the Deadpool versus Wolverine one was pretty cool. I would have liked for maybe a little more. Deadpool versus Spider-Man and Deadpool versus Invisible Woman were pretty good. But I would have liked to see more. Like the I was expecting more of a fight between Punisher and Daredevil. Not Punisher and in Deadpool. What the hell am I saying? But that was a little disappointing to me the way he just used the Puppet Master's puppet to kill him. I feel like out of all the characters, like Punisher would have put up a big fight. I didn't really like the way he got offed. So yeah, I would have liked a little more actual fights with Deadpool and characters, not him just slaughtering people. I feel like that would have made the stakes more interesting and would have made Deadpool feel a little more like of a big threat. I did like how he just showed up and killed the Watcher. That was cool. There was a lot of fun meta stuff in here that we've come to associate with Deadpool, and I did really like that. I will say I didn't like Deadpool's suit in this. I think there was too much black. I just didn't really dig it. On the cover it looks fine, but in the actual book I think it's different. And I just don't really care for the design. Like I don't like that his arms and legs are all black. I just didn't love the design. I don't really know much about Psycho Man, so that was interesting how he was the one to, unlock Deadpool's, more meta crazy ability to see everything and, unlock this new voice in his head. I thought that was interesting. I liked that when Professor X looked inside Deadpool's mind and like saw everything, that just it was just too much for even Professor X and killed him. I thought that was pretty cool. So yeah, all in all, I did like this. I also feel like it could have been a little longer. It was only 4 issues. I feel like they could have made it one or two more issues and fleshed a few things out a little bit more. But at the same time, this was supposed to just be a, bloody Deadpool kills everybody type story. So in that, it definitely succeeded. I definitely feel like it could have been fleshed out a little bit better in some aspects, and I feel like some of the kills and battles could have been better and made more sense. The ending was fun. I did like it. Did feel very Deadpool for him to show up in the writers' room at Marvel with all the writer of the story and everything. That was fun. I did like that. I didn't like how it ended though. I would have liked. For me personally, I think it would have been better if it ended with him like actually killing them and like slaughtering them, and then at the end he says, "I'm coming for you next" to the reader. I was kind of disappointed that it ended before he took them out. That felt like a little bit of a anticlimactic ending to me. But I did like this overall. I think I would give this like, I don't know, like a 6.5 out of 10. I haven't really done ratings on most of the books that I've done. I'm gonna start doing them, so let me know in the comments if you want me to do more actual like number ratings for these books. But yeah, I think I'd give this a 6.5 out of 10. Yeah, that sounds fair to me. A 6.5, maybe. I don't think I can give it a 7 because of the issues I said, which, you know, maybe I'm being too critical of a, as a throwaway comic. Like some people have been very critical of the new Deadpool and Wolverine movie, even though it's like supposed to be one thing and it accomplished that goal. So now before we wrap things up real quick, I want to talk about our cultured picks for this week. If you've never watched this before or listened before, this is just a segment where we talk about I say we, but I've been alone lately, so where I talk about the most exciting and interesting comics we've read recently that aren't, the main topic for this week. So the two I want to talk about, I want to talk about Daredevil: Woman Without Fear #1. This is a relaunch of the Daredevil: Woman Without Fear series, starring Elektra as Daredevil. And this is written by Erica Schultz, and I really enjoyed this. I was looking forward to this, and it did not disappoint. It's obvious, it's the first issue, so it's obviously just kind of setting things up. But it was very cool because I had this cool like fight with Crossbones, and I really like Elektra's character, and I really like her as Daredevil. I always kind of liked Elektra, but seeing her as Daredevil in the last few years, been reading the comics where she took up the mantle of Daredevil. I've really grown to really like her character. And I really like the way she's written in this book. But what's really cool is the book ends with the new Punisher, Joe Garrison, showing up. And it seems like there's going to be a showdown or at least a meeting between him and the new Daredevil, which I think is really cool. I think this new Punisher was actually pretty interesting. Like vamp of the character. He's obviously not taking the place of Frank Castle, at least not forever, but I do really like his character. So yeah, if you haven't read the Punisher miniseries with his character that came out last year, I would definitely suggest you picking that up if you are a fan of the Punisher character. You will like this. I think it's definitely a new take on the Punisher, but he's not trying to just be like a copy and paste version of Frank. Now, the next book I want to talk about is Wolverine #50. This came out like a month or two ago, and it's the last issue in the current Wolverine run. Written by Benjamin Percy. It was a very cool ending to this Sabretooth War uh, arc that's been going on. I haven't really been paying attention to all of the Sabretooth War, but I've read some of it. I think what really stands out to me is that cool adamantium armor. But yeah, what was really cool about this book is there's a final showdown between him and Sabretooth. In this run, Sabretooth had killed Daken. And if you've read the Helverine series or heard about it, you know that Daken is brought back by the demon that possessed Wolverine and the whole Weapons of Vengeance storyline. But so Daken is technically back, but I guess at this point, Wolverine doesn't know that, so he's after Sabretooth because Sabretooth killed and dismembered his son. So he fights him in this cool adamantium armor that Forge made for him, and he's also got a carbonarium or whatever the hell it's called, carbonadium sword, kind of like what Deadpool has, and it messes with their healing factor. And this suit's also healing, like bringing back his healing factor because Wolverine was wearing the adamantium suit because his healing factor wasn't working great and he was injured. So he fights Sabretooth with the sword and the armor, but it eventually comes off the armor. But um, Wolverine has help from a bunch of other mutants, which is very cool, like X-23, Colossus, Emma Frost, Black Tom Cassidy, Omega Red, a bunch of people, Domino. So they're like able to fight off Sabretooth while Wolverine kind of recovers from his armor being destroyed. And then he and Sabretooth fight again. He still has his carbonadium katana, and he uses that to completely dismember Sabretooth, which is one of the most badass things I've seen in a Wolverine comic lately. So I thought that really struck me. Just the way he just brutally dismembered and cut Sabretooth in the pieces. I kind of wish we'd seen something like that in Deadpool and Wolverine, to be honest. But yeah, so that was pretty cool. Pretty cool issue. There's gonna be a new Wolverine series by Salad and Ahmed coming out in September, I think, which I'm looking forward to. But yeah, that's the episode for this week. Let me know what you think of this book. If you want to pick it up on Amazon, I'll leave the link in the description. Thank you so much for watching. Be sure to leave a like and comment and share this podcast to anybody you know who's into comics and would like this. And let me know, what you think of the show. And be sure to, if you're listening to this on Spotify or Apple or whatever podcast platform, be sure to leave a 5-star review. And if you want to help us bring you more great content, if you want to support us, you can check out patreon.com/theculturednerd and look for our show's specific tier, the Cultured Pull List. Thank you to all of our current Patreon supporters of The Cultured Nerd: Wesley H., Mitch S., Connor Y., Anna M., Oscar B., Craig L., and Salib K. I have been your host, Michael Malillo. Our logo and visual assets were designed by Jose Navarro, and our intro was designed by myself. Thank you once again for joining us. Once again, be sure to like and subscribe and share and leave a comment. Let us know what you think of the book or the show. If you want to check out us or the Cultured Nerd on social media, you can scan the QR code on the bottom left if you're watching this, like on your computer, on your TV, or something. And you can scan the QR code on the bottom right if you want to check out Casual Experts, which is my other brand that I do. Like, it's mostly just pop culture, nerdy stuff. Got our own social media, podcast, and YouTube, mostly movie reviews, spoiler talk, nerdy, just nerding out all the time kind of shit. So if you want to check out Casual Experts, you can scan the QR code on the bottom right.